Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Bringing back to the show with me is Ben Webber. He's been on the podcast a few times. He just recently spoke in London. He seems to be speaking at quite a few events now. Incredible entrepreneur, multiple Amazon businesses. So I'm going to get into his in-depth, get into his story, where he started out and where he is today. So Ben, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. So let's dial it back to your childhood. What was early years for Ben like as a kid?
So grew up in a college town in West Virginia where I have an older brother who's 3 years older than that. So it was just him and my parents and I. Growing up, just tried to play as many sports as I possibly could and hang out with friends, honestly. Like, it wasn't nothing too crazy.
And so did your influences come from? Was your mum and dad entrepreneurs or?
No, so my mom stayed at home until I think I was 11, and my dad worked for the university, so no real entrepreneurship there. I have an aunt and uncle who took my family on trips all over the world. They were very successful entrepreneurs. One was an entrepreneur, she ran her own lobbying firm. The other was a lawyer who was very high up. But so they were able to take 30 people on trips too. They took us to Disney World when I was 8. When I turned 18 and my brother was turning 21, they took us to Italy and France. They've treated their nieces and nephews. They didn't have kids of their own, so they treated their nieces and nephews as their own kids. And I always respected the fact that they took the time and the money, honestly, to make sure that their family stayed together. Like, they built an entire house so that people could come there for Thanksgiving. Like, that was how they planned it, so the family could stay together. And they were able to build that because of the hard work that they did and also being entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And so what about education-wise? Were you a scholar student? You know, were you good, or did you find it boring and dull? And
more the boring and dull.
Yeah.
I think I still had good grades, but that was more a function of I was in West Virginia where most people aren't super interested in school. Like, for my graduating class of high school, about 33% went to college and only 8 left the state. So it's not like it wasn't unfortunately a huge educational pipeline.
So what was your dreams as you're growing up? What did you want to be?
Honestly, thought I was going to be a marine biologist.
Really?
Was my original plan. Once I realized that I'm very short and not going to be able to do anything athletically professionally, then had to change it up.
Yeah. And so where did that kind of change come? Because you said you did a lot of sports when you were younger.
Yeah.
Right? And then obviously you wanted to do something, it didn't work out. How did you kind of bridge that gap? So how old was you then when you couldn't pursue your dreams?
So I don't know that I ever truly thought that I would be that. It was more of a pipe dream. I mean, like every kid changes. Like, I want to be a policeman, I want to be a fireman, I'm going to be whatever, depending on the day.
Yeah.
But so I guess when I switched away from marine biology was my freshman year of college. The first semester I took biology. It's like, oh, this is way too easy. I'm bored. And like slept through the class, much like high school. And ended up getting, I found the teacher was like, you need a 36% on the final to get a B. I was like, oh, why am I even here? And so I decided if I'm going to be going to college, and I was fortunate to have some scholarships, but paying money for an education, I should get the best education I can get. And at the time, I went to a small school in North Carolina, and 4 of the history professors had won Teacher of the Year awards in North Carolina in the last 7 years. And so I was like, the history department must be the department that I need to be studying, because that's where the good teachers are. And so I became an ancient history major. So I really was thinking about marketability at the time.
So what was you kind of, you finished your studies, you've graduated. What come next? What was your first few jobs that you were doing?
So I graduated in 2006 when the economy was not doing super great, and I'd played tennis in college and worked at some of the junior clinics around the area, so I knew that there were people who needed tennis lessons that couldn't necessarily afford to go to a country club where they're paying a membership fee and then $100 a lesson or something like that. And I was like, I can't think of anything, at the time this was me, I can't think of anything that would make my time worth $100 an hour. I can do this for like 30 at a local park. So I built up about 80 people that I was giving lessons to over the about once a month, or in some cases twice a month. Just going to local parks from people that I met at the different clinics, because I just needed money and it was not a good time to be looking for a job. So I kind of expanded that into an accidental entrepreneurship.
So how long did it take you to start growing that business? And were you making, because it was one-on-one, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
So it's harder to scale that. But what did you learn that? Because obviously we'll get into your story later. You've done tremendous scale, right? So were they some of the early signs of, were you picking apart the business because of the way your brain works as well, you know?
I mean, to some extent, yeah. I mean, the biggest thing was customer satisfaction. Like, I didn't advertise anywhere. I didn't do any kind of marketing. It was all word of mouth or people that I'd met. So making sure that I was focused on keeping everybody happy so that they would share the quality of what I was doing. And honestly, the biggest thing that I did, I think, differently than what a lot of the instructors were doing is I could not have cared less about the parents. Most of the people I was teaching were between 8 and 12 years old. And so I put every single bit of effort I could into making sure that the kids enjoyed it. Because if you're dealing with parents, and this is going to possibly come off in not in the best way, but they're really just happy to have an hour where somebody else is watching their kid.
Yeah.
And so as long as I make their kid happy, they're going to want to keep coming back to me, because if they don't and that upsets their kid, then that's going to cause problems for them that last longer than an hour.
Yeah.
So, like, I would watch, if I found out that they were reading a book or watching movies, like, I'd try and make sure that I at least knew enough about them to have a conversation with the kids that I was teaching about it, because it was a way to connect with them and maintain a relationship that would make them want to keep coming back, regardless of what the parents thought.
Yeah, so you still managed to, I understand it could see it as a contentious issue, but what you've done is you're focusing on the well-being and what meeting the kids' needs, but it ended up being that everyone benefits from it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So where did we get on to after that?
So I figured I should probably find a career at some point. And so I started working with a telecom company in their business department, and I was writing contracts for Ethernet phone system, and Salesforce was the software, but for Ethernet T1 phone system, so the higher dollar items, and then I was working with the call center if they were trying to close a sale and they were struggling with it, then I would come in to be essentially the closer for selling the product.
Yeah. And how long did you last in that?
About 3.5 years. And then they decided they were going to cut my bonus structure, which was about 25% of my salary, to zero. And so I decided if they're doing that, I'm going to cut the amount of time that I work here to zero as well.
Yeah, that's not good. So what was next for you after this?
That's when Amazon started. So that was...
what year is this?
That was 2014. I left on like January 1st of 2015 because my 401k match happened on December 31st. And they told me they were cutting my bonus structure on December 1st. So I said, well, I might as well hold out for another month to get the 401k money. But it just so happened that at the time I have one of my friends is a serial entrepreneur. And so he had been running businesses since he was a 12-year-old kid. It's actually where JLS came from, the holding company that we use came from. Any company that he's a part of, he's always wanted to have that in. But it stands for Johnny's Lawn Service, which was his first entrepreneurial venture. And so at that time, another of our friends who had been practicing law decided that he did not want to be a lawyer anymore. And another friend was trying to get out of their family business.
And this is 2014, did you say?
End of 2014, beginning of 2015.
And so who discovered that? Because everyone has that moment of discovery. Like, we've all got our stories where we went, Amazon FBA, this is it, didn't we? Yeah.
So there's a discount store in Charlotte that was selling Swiffer, like the liquid for it. And the serial entrepreneur saw that and was like, I just bought this for like 6 times the price. And he'd sold some books in college on Amazon and was like, wonder if there's something you could do with this.
So are all you guys from Charlotte then?
We all went to college together in between 2002 and 2008.
Yeah, because I used to DJ in Charlotte at Methos. There was a club there called
Oh,
Methos.
yeah.
Do you remember that club?
Yeah, it closed rebranded shortly after I got there.
Yeah, I played there from about 98 to 2001. I think the last time I played there, a long time ago. But yeah, I loved Charlotte. It's an amazing place. So back on so you've got, how many was the core group? 4?
Four, yeah.
Okay, and so you've all come from different backgrounds, which brings this together. Because we've just been, I think you've been down there, is that obviously we're in Estonia while we're doing this in the hotel. But having a series of great minds together, like these guys over here in Tallinn have got a workspace where you can put all these incredible entrepreneurs in the same room to solve problems, but with their own brands. So you seem to had, what did you say, an ex-lawyer, there's yourself, who's very technical, and what the other two guys were doing? Serial entrepreneur and... Yeah,
and the other had been in essentially sales.
Yeah, okay, so it's
sales
not about
and inventory
team.
management.
Yeah. So what? How did it all get together? You one discovered and opened up the door, and you just formulated a company.
Yeah, and then we started doing some research into like, okay, how can we get inventory? What other methods can we do to grow? And we discovered salvage auctions and several other retail stores. Looked into wholesale. We never did all that much with that. We bought a lot of liquidations and things like that. So that was the beginning of it.
Yeah, so you started with what was the setup? Like you bought liquidations and stuff. How long was you running that before you switched to private label?
So we switched over to private label, started in 2017, and then went full private label in 2018.
So did you make good money? Although it's hard to scale it, but did you make good money from 14 to 17?
Oh yeah.
So you hit 7 figures with it?
Yeah, we just got up to the low to mid 7 figures with arbitrage.
Yeah. That's incredible. That's good. But obviously there's 4 of you on the team, but it's a lot of graft, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to scale. So what made you switch to the private label model? Purely for the scalability, was it?
Scalability was a lot of it. It was, and just, if we're spending all our time driving trucks around the country, there's a limit to how much inventory you can find. And it's hard work. I mean, it was a lot of fun. Like, I had some great stories from it, but if you're looking at growth and you're like, okay, I have this amazing product, we're making 100% margins on it, like everything is crazy, everything's amazing, and then we sell out of it.
Yeah.
What do we do? Like, we then have to find, we may have to find 2 products to replace that, or 3 or 4, and so it's just
it's a hamster wheel, isn't it?
Yeah, you're constantly going. You don't get to take a break. Like, I would not be able to be here if we'd kept doing that, because I'd be driving a truck to some auction in Atlanta or somewhere else.
So what did you start with, your first brand?
So our first brand was prank products and gag gifts.
Doing?
Prank products and gag gifts.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was called prank products, but that's not the brand name. So
yeah.
So what? Give some example of the type of products.
So we were looking for essentially cheap products that we could do that we could test the market without having to do anything all that expensive. So we did a lot of stickers, a lot of prank business cards and prank mailers that you could send to your friends and stuff like that, as like just ways to initially test out the market.
Yeah, so that was the first brand. You got how many total? 8 now, or 9?
9 now.
You got 9. So that's the first brand. Let's put a timeline against it. That's 2017. Let's walk through to the end of 18, 19. Let's start going that way.
So we got lucky with that first brand where a radio DJ found our product, which I'll tell you about offline if you want. But I probably should not say online just for first. But it was they were a shock jock radio DJ, had about a 200,000 listener audience. And so he had us go on the show, and it went very well, so he had us go on the show again. And then we did a giveaway on the second one where we sent the prank mailer filled with all of our other products to some random listener that he had. And the listener then called in and was like, hey, listen to what these guys did to me. And so we got 3 appearances on a radio show with 200,000 listeners for free.
Wow.
And our initial brand, we had 3 products at the time that we found out that we were going to go on the show. And we were going on the show 3 weeks later. We spent the next 3 weeks creating literally as many products as we could possibly come up with. So we expanded that from 3 products to 18 products in 3 weeks.
Wow.
By doing using the online printing services to send stuff to us and packaging it ourselves in the warehouse.
Yeah. So you already had a warehouse early doors.
Yeah. Because of the retail arbitrage and the stuff like that, we had to store.
Yeah.
But so we were like, okay, maybe this private label thing actually, that might go somewhere. And so we were looking at other products that we could sell. We were trying to find U.S. suppliers because we're still trying to be as cash conscious as we possibly could be.
Yeah.
And we were just thinking, like, from a timeline of turning money,
Yeah.
we're coming from the retail arbitrage background where everything is
Yeah.
very, very
Your
quick.
inventory turns are fast, your money's fast,
Exactly.
isn't it? But then once you go to China, you've got all the lead times
Yeah.
and it becomes a bit more complex. Yeah.
And so we were trying to avoid that while we were starting out. So we found a number of manufacturers that sold kind of disposable paper products and other things like that, where the quantities on Amazon didn't make sense. Like, you could only buy 1,000 pack of something. And you're thinking about it like, okay, I'm a school or a church or a family having a picnic or for a reunion or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't need that many pieces. So we're like, okay, the 1,000 pack is selling for $26. What would happen if I put 100 pack up there for $15? And the answer is it would sell really well.
Right.
And so that was our next brand, was growing out essentially based off of quantity versus the quality of the product. It was finding areas in the market where they were missing on quantity.
Yeah. And so this is what, 2018 now?
Yeah.
And what revenue are we doing around that time?
Around that time we were, I think, like 8 to 10.
8 to 10 million? Wow. Okay. I'm thinking, just started the brand.
Well, we still have some retail arbitrage money coming in.
Yeah, just how you do it work? 8 to 10 grand a month? No. 8 to 10 million in like 15 months or something?
Yeah, but that wasn't all private label.
I know, but still, it's still impressive. So I can understand why you want to tightly manage the cash flow. So where did we go to there? We're up to 8 to 10 million, mid 2018. What was the next?
That's when we started looking at China and expanding into other markets as far as our inventory, where we're sourcing from. So we ended up finding a number of manufacturers there, trying to resource a lot of the stuff that we were already selling, because you can get way better margins. It's shocking. This is going to be something that no one's ever talked about before, but you get better margins not buying from the U.S.
Or at least you get a return phone call. Half the places you leave a message, you wait 3 weeks to get any answers. Right. Lead time's terrible. Customer service is terrible. The UK's the same. Europe's the same. No one really is like that keen to get work done like the Chinese, are they, in terms of getting business done. So 8 to 10 million. When did that's still on the first brand? So where's
the first two, yeah.
First two. Where did we introduce brand 3?
Around the beginning of late 2018.
Okay. And what category? We won't go into the product.
That one was tools and home improvement. So kind of DIY type products.
So overall, across the 8 brands, how many categories are you in?
Too many.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because I've often spoke about this, and see, you could start a brand in one category, absolutely kill it, and be a genius at what you do, and then start a new brand using all the same things that you did or that you've learned and refined it, and it just doesn't work. Yeah. Because there's that luck element. Yeah. But it seems like you've spread across a lot of categories and nailing it in all of them.
Well, so our thing initially was Amazon. People on Amazon don't care about brands. So we're going to look for products. And if we find a product that doesn't fit an existing brand, then we have to make a new brand. Yeah. And so we'd find products that would work, and we'd have to figure out something. So it wasn't necessarily a conscious decision to go into that market. It was just here's a product that we know will sell well and we know we can make money on. We should do it. Yeah. Okay, where do we put it? And like that's what, honestly, one of our brands is essentially a testing brand / dumping ground for products that we don't know where to put it. It's just a generic phrase or a generic word, and then we'll just put things into it. We also use that for a lot of testing. Like, if we want to test a product line to see, like, would this work better as premium versus a regular product? We might launch it as premium on this essentially holding brand and launch it as a low price one on the other one, and just see what the comparison is and stuff like that.
Yeah. And so where's the next brand coming from here?
That was 2019 as well.
Okay, and what was we doing? What market?
That one we tried supplements.
How did that go?
So it didn't go badly. It did not go as well as the others.
Yeah.
But it was and we still sell it, but it's just like the cost to compete in that market is
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are players in that market who are willing to take steps that we're not willing to take.
Yeah. Yeah. The moral compass is different to us. Yeah, you can't compete, can you? If your moral compass is here and theirs is over there, they're always going to beat you unless you adjust your moral compass. So, yeah, so supplements kind of got a bit gun shy after doing the one brand. We're not going back there again. And then where did we start introducing? This is brand 4 or 5 now, the supplements.
Yeah, I think that was 5 counting the...
Yeah, I'm losing count, Ben. I don't know.
Right, I don't even remember.
There's still brand 6. When was that?
Yeah, so that one was more of like I actually remember. That was a cleaning products brand. Was the 6th one, and that was one of the suppliers that we're using for a lot of the kind of disposable paper, that type of products. They had merged with another manufacturer who did cleaning supplies. We like to use the same manufacturers because you can get better rates and terms and all that stuff. Plus, you know, that once you find one that works, it's nice to be able to trust who you're working with. So we're like, okay, if they have these, we should figure out how to expand onto this. Yeah.
And then next brand after that? It seems like we're doing your in-depth, and it's like next brand, next brand. It's like, oh, what did you do now? Completely differently from all the other categories. We went here now. It's like you torture yourself. It's like, no, I'll just go in there, kill it, go to the next brand, go in there, kill it. So the next brand after cleaning products. So out of all the brands, the one that you struggle with most was the supplement.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So cleaning brand, 7 figures. Yeah. And
then the next one, that one is 7 figures. The next one was we decided we were tired of paying for other people to print stuff for us. So we're like, we should learn how to print things ourselves. So we went out, sourced essentially all the equipment to make stickers, T-shirts, whatever we wanted to make, and brought that into our warehouse. Yeah. So that we could make stuff in house, thinking like we'll be able to act on trends, and when things are going viral, we'll be able to have a product that matches that in a day, versus having to wait for it to be delivered.
And then where did we move on to that? So that got developed out. How did that perform in terms of, did you have stuff that goes viral and you were able to ride the wave?
Yes and no. We honestly, we cheaped out a little bit on the actual machinery, which hurt us. Because like if we're trying to sell a 10-pack of something, we could only make like 30 an hour. Right. With the cutting machine and everything that we had. So we just couldn't scale it fast enough. So it ended up making more sense to just still order them from somewhere else. Right. But we could use that as for creating like the first product to see if it works, and then we order more. So using it we ended up using it more as a tester versus a full
So it gets full use as well. Still, it's not been a waste. You use it all the time still.
No. So we ended up selling it. Right. It worked for a while, but we just moved away from it because our new model is, well, it's not necessarily a new model, but we're trying to get into a lot higher price products versus the like cheaper sticker things like that, because your margins are just so much better. Yeah. So where are we now? What year are we on? That was in 2021 when we were working on that. Okay. So where were we at with the revenue roughly in 2021? That one we were around 30. 30 million. 30. Okay. Now. Killing it. 30. Right, so let's add some more brands on. What's the next one? So that's where we we slowed down
Right.
and decided to kind of consolidate our growth and like spend a lot of time putting into building systems and training and making sure that everybody on our staff knew everything they needed to know to be successful, and figuring out how to get the four of us somewhat out of the day-to-day, because at that point we were still like in there clicking buttons in PPC. And we're like, this should not be how we're doing. And that's when we started working on a lot of the tech that we now use as far as the inventory management PPC software that we built.
So you built all your tools in-house.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get around the old percentage of spend and all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah.
It's just the maintenance and engineering costs, of course.
Exactly.
So we're at 20, 21, 22. We're at 30 mil.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go from here?
So that's when we started looking at patents and the idea of purchasing existing products that people are already making or have the idea to make, so that we can get into some significantly more unique products without having to necessarily come up with them ourselves. And so that was the next brand.
And how's that working out? You've got a few under your wing now?
Yeah, we have
200 or 500 or something?
No, we're still in single digits on those, honestly. But they like some of them have been incredibly successful, where it went from like one that we buy for $3,000 and then sell for sell for $60,000 a month.
Wow.
So stuff like that, where like the margins are there if you know how to market it. And I think one of my favorite stories of one that we've purchased is we were working with a company that we were buying their product wholesale and essentially white labeling it, and with their permission and everything. And they said they were going to go out of business. They didn't want to keep selling it. And did we want to buy their
remaining stock and
remaining stock, their mold, the patent, the trademarks, everything that they had. And we're like, okay, let's run some numbers on this and make sure that it makes sense. And so we did, and they're like, okay, can we improve this? And so we looked at the manufacturing that they were doing, and we were paying, when we were buying it wholesale, we were paying about $5 for it. And they were paying like $3.50. So we went in, looked at the manufacturing, reached out to some of our manufacturers, and we now have it made for $1.25. So we cut $2.25 off of theirs, and $3.75 off of our price. And because of that, like our margins, I mean, making $3.75 extra a unit, it helps. It adds up.
It does.
And so that's what I like now, is being able to see like the great ideas that people have had, and then figuring out how can I make this better, or how can I do this cheaper without losing quality. And so that's the kind of the path that we're moving now, is trying to get into fewer products. Like right now we have something like 1,300 SKUs, counting variations in size, quantity, etc. So trying to get to the higher dollar ones, but launching fewer products but higher quality ones.
Incredible. So we covered all the 9 brands now? Yeah, we have. And the question I should have asked is that you grew all these different brands, and we had the gold rush of 15, 16, obviously a lot easier back then, and then we've had the aggregator wave. I'm sure they was all sniffing around, surely, around you. Did you didn't take a bite or you didn't sell anything to take a bit of money off the table?
No, we just still see so much potential in the brands. Like people, if they've talked to me, will have heard me say we're terrible at off Amazon marketing. Like we had somebody that we hired in who, for a significant amount of money, who was supposed to be this expert marketer and just completely failed. Like they didn't do any work. They were like, we just want to make sure you understand what to do. So like, write these 5 listings for us so we can even see it. It took them like 6 months to write 5 listings. We're like, okay, this isn't working out. And so we got pretty gun shy after that. And so we're just now starting to get back into Google, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all that kind of marketing that we have essentially ignored. And so when that wave was coming in, we're like, well, we could sell, but the potential for growth on these is astronomical if we actually figure out these other marketing tactics that we haven't been doing. So we held on to them with the intention of being able to grow them ourselves versus having somebody else grow them and get the money from it.
Yeah, and we skipped over COVID, but did you get kneecapped on any of the brands there? Did anything just flop overnight or accelerated?
So it was actually... 2020 was an interesting year for me. So at the end of 2019, I was getting pretty burnt out. And so talked to my friends, and essentially I left the company for from the end of 2019 into the February, March of 2021 because it was one of those where if you say you're not going to necessarily stay friends forever because you have different paths for what you want and for what you're expecting to happen.
Yeah.
And so it just made sense to step away for a bit. So
did that you managed to rectify that? So you stepped away, took some time out. Is that also to trying to recover? Did you hit some dark moments that you had to come back from as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's just when you're working so hard to scale something, and it's hard on to do it by yourself for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also hard even if you have partners, because you're you have these people that you've known for years that you joke with, you laugh with, but you're also having screaming arguments about different paths, and it's managing that dichotomy between is tough.
Yeah.
And so it was figuring out. I needed time to figure out what I wanted, what I needed for quality of life, because that's why we all do this.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I even wanted other than I don't care about scaling to scale.
For the sake of
I need to understand my whys.
You need a purpose.
Exactly.
There's got to be a reason for it. What did you do in that time out for them 18 months or so?
So I did a lot of self-reflection, a lot of sitting by myself because of COVID. And I did a lot of consulting work for other companies.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's George Maressa, that's how we met. He said, you've got to meet this genius. He's incredible. And he said you were doing a lot of stuff for other people, dialing in on products but coming from a different angle. You've got your own way of doing things, and people you're not handing them success, but you've got it really dialed in, and your consultancy seemed to work really well for all those people,
Yeah.
So he knew that you had something. So you took some time out, you've done that, a lot of self-reflection. What would you say, and there's boundaries here, you don't have to share, but what did you learn from the self-reflection taking that time out?
A lot of it was figuring out what I actually care about. And I know I mentioned quality of life, but I think that I realized COVID helped with this as well. How much I value people and relationships and experiences. That's what's important to me. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing the speaking stuff now. Is it's a way to go to new places, meet people, and I've been very fortunate with how Amazon has worked out. So if there's a way, and listening to honestly, we had a list of podcasts of interest to the company that yours was on.
Right.
So being able to go and to some extent give back to the people and the atmosphere and
in the
community that helped build what we got to, and you meet amazing people. And so I realized how much more that valuable that was for me, and how much I cared about that over, honestly, money, and a lot of things like that. So it was it's one of the reasons I went back to the company rather than just consulting, because you can be very, very successful doing consulting. Was just I needed people around me again.
Yeah. You needed a team again.
Exactly. The shared successes were way more valuable to me than the
solo stuff.
Individual. So it's if I figure out something really cool while I'm doing consulting, great. I helped this one company. I solved their problem, and then I have to find somebody new to consult with, and let's have an ongoing thing. And it's okay, good job, self high five, versus like when you figure out something cool and you can show it to your team, and everybody gets to celebrate. It's a group win versus a individual win.
Yeah.
And the group wins I realized how valuable that was for me.
So you had the burnout and stuff. Is there other stuff that you did? Your self-reflection, but you took 18 months out. Did it take most of that to recover from the burnout?
There's some of that, and then some kind of rebuilding the relationships with my friends where I was to where I would be willing to go back, because it was a
combative atmosphere.
Not necessarily combative. It was more of a, if I go back and like, will my frustrations resurface? Where there's like just different things that everybody's doing that would bother somebody else. So just making sure that you
want to get rid of any underlining previous resentment,
right,
and contempt, because you get, like any relationship, if you're with someone a long time, the most deep-seated aspects is, this goes for marriage as well, is the underlining resentment that can build over years, decades, and they're normally the hardest things to undo, to reduce the triggers and stuff.
Absolutely.
And maybe it's a bit of that you know each other so
basically
long,
that, so
get rid of that kind of...
and I wouldn't want to go back and hurt those relationships, because these are people, I've been friends with for 20 years, that, like, friends with their wives, we all have mutual friends, like, if there's a falling out there, it's not just impacting us, it's
the partners,
the community and everything that we put around us. So making sure that I was comfortable and they were comfortable with the status of everything.
Great, and you made it work. Excellent. So where do you see the future now? Obviously you've made a lot of adjustments, you've got the 9 brands, you haven't sold. What is your purpose? We mentioned about scaling. For the sake of scaling, it's pointless. What is the purpose now? I know you said I want to get better, or we want to get better with external traffic. But what's the greater purpose of that? Where do you see it?
So one of the things that we've spent a lot of time and energy on is training our teams and helping them to improve and helping them to get to where they want to be. And so it's like I said, the people is the why. And like our current best copywriter started in the warehouse working on the floor, but we had the training materials available for them to go in and learn this complete new set of skills. And so being able to give people opportunities that they may not have had otherwise, and being able to help lift up
your business developing, personal business developing your own team to all come through together. So investing in your people. So when everyone's got to bound a number around. If you had eyesights for, when we're going to hit 100 million, we're going to build this to 100 million, or do you want to cap out at some point?
Probably depends on which one of us you ask. I think like right now our target is to hit 100 million in 2025. But as far as like a cap out or exit, it's more going to be when it gets boring. Like there's not something that feels new and interesting, or like, the creating products is still...
It's hard because there's 4 of you who've got to stay on the same wave.
Yeah.
One could go, I'm bored of this, I'm done with this. Then there's the buyout, it gets tricky, it gets done properly, but it all takes time away from the business. But the fact is, all 4 of you are still rowing the same boat in the right direction.
Right.
Yeah. So, what's been your darkest hour just before dawn?
So, for the business, or
anything you'd like to share?
So I guess I think it was the end of 2016, we had taken on a lot of debt from Amazon loans, which was a poor decision. And we had purchased essentially bought out a wholesaler. And they had, it's a great deal. You get like $3 million worth of products for like $50,000. let's do it. But we also then had to figure out how to store all of this. We were paying a 3PL in St. Louis a lot of money, and we weren't doing enough with the inventory. We didn't have a plan for it, and so the cost of all that plus the almost predatory loans had put us in a position where we were not sure how we were going to survive and move forward. And that's when we were talking through, like, okay, we have all these products, we have a ton of kind of old, I'm trying to think of how to describe it, but essentially we'll call it electronics and technology that we'd purchase from auctions that could sell for a lot of money on eBay. And so we had to go through a lengthy discussion on, do we try and sell these big ticket items where we can get thousands of dollars in one go, or do we create new listings for the products that we got from this wholesaler that aren't on Amazon? And so, I mean, we went back and forth, we discussed this, and we eventually decided, let's launch these products on Amazon. And created the listings, did the photography, everything there. And that was in, like, November of 2016. And they took off. Which, I mean, launching products during Christmas at that time is pretty nice. And so we were able to get our cash flow back to where we needed it to be. And it was one of those where, like, we have to make a decision. What is that decision going to be? And fortunately, we made the right one. But otherwise, I mean, the business
it could have been, we wouldn't be sitting here kind of decision.
Exactly.
Yeah, if it was the other way. How would you like to be remembered?
As somebody who made other people happy.
That's your depth. How'd you feel?
It's good.
Good. Incredible what you've done to achieve. What you've done is unbelievable. They should be proud.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Guys, thank you for joining us today. Another incredible story. Still on the road here in Estonia. Ben, thank you for your time. I'll see you again. Take care of yourself. Much love, and I'll see you again